The Orlando Magic get a gutsy victory over the Atlanta Hawks. They find their identity, they find their swagger, they find their groove. And we are back from the All-Star break here at State Farm Arena. It's Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 21st, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Wright, coming to you from State Farm Arena, where the Orlando Magic have defeated the Atlanta Hawks 114-108. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode, how the Orlando Magic found their identity and swagger to get this crucial win over the Atlanta Hawks and start their post-All-Star break schedule the right way. Plus, we'll chat about the Orlando Magic's decision to have Wendell Carter back in the starting lineup over Goga Bitadze. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, and you can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers made $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Let's get all the fun stuff out of the way. The Orlando Magic have not won consecutive games since December 23rd when they beat the Boston Celtics, had that come-from-behind victory after the big comeback victory over the Miami Heat. And so it is perhaps fitting that the Orlando Magic once again had a big comeback win. And while this doesn't quite feel like consecutive wins, a win streak, as foreign as that might be over the last 6 weeks, because of the All-Star break in the middle, this was a game that really felt like a return to form for the Orlando Magic. It really felt like it was a game where the Magic found themselves again. Things looked bleak in that first quarter. The Magic were down by 15 points after the first quarter. They were giving up fouls. They were giving up shots. They were just giving up a ton of opportunities, and it looked like Atlanta was going to run them out of the gym, just like the lights behind me went out and seemed to be running me out of this gym. But the Magic bounced back. They found their defense. They found their identity, and more importantly, they found their swagger. It started, of course, with Paolo Banchero. He had 18 of his 36 points in the second quarter, leading the Magic back from a deficit that was as large as 19 points. And while every single one of those Paolo shots was important, you could begin to see, as Cole Anthony said after the game, he had that look in his eye. He had that feeling like, oh, I'm going to lead this team. My energy is going to radiate to everyone else. My aggression is going to radiate to everyone else. The swagger, he was talking a lot, which is, I think, a good thing for him, was radiating out to everybody else. But it was the defense that led the way. The Orlando Magic held the Hawks to 39.4% shooting, 11 for 35 from three. I believe the Hawks were 4 of 6 from three in the first quarter. They were making a ton of threes, and the Magic just, again, not a three-point shooting team, 6 for 25 in this game, but they made some big ones. We'll get to a few of those here in a minute. It was the Magic's defense, that hounding, aggressive, get-after-you defense that we just, frankly, haven't seen enough over the course of this season, or certainly over the course of these last 2 months. Orlando let their defense lead the way. They had a ton of energy. They contested and challenged shots at the rim. They had 7 blocks in the game. They made Atlanta's life hard. And while there were mistakes, and I think Orlando would even say this was not their best performance or their best game or everything they wanted to be, everything started on defense. They got themselves back in the game. They took the lead at halftime on their defense. But just like that game last week, just like that game 10 days ago, the Magic needed some big shots to win this game. And that's where the swagger comes in. The Magic get their confidence from their defense. We can talk about the offensive moves all we want. That's not getting fixed. The way the Magic have to work around it is with their defense. They are an elite defensive team, and they have to be elite. That might be asking a lot. That might be asking too much for where the Magic ultimately want to be and what the Magic ultimately want to do. But their defense had to be the catalyst for everything. And it certainly was. But yes, you've got to be able to make shots. You've got to be able to hit those big shots when the time calls for it. Those shots came in the form of Cole Anthony. As much as Paolo Banchero was feeling it and feeling that flow, Cole took that and ran with it in the fourth quarter. He had a tough baseline jumper, hit a tough three-pointer that put the Magic ahead, gave them a 3-4 point lead. Then Paolo Banchero hit a big three to cap a 9-0 run that broke a 103-103 tie. Atlanta punched back, got themselves back in game. Orlando's offense started to stall again, but then the defense stepped up, gave them some pace, gave them some room to run, got them back into the fray, into the flow of things, and gave them that opportunity to win, gave them that opportunity to pull away and get the victory. This looked like Magic basketball, and that's been the big thing. We've kind of asked ourselves, what is this team? Who is this team trying to be? What are they trying to accomplish? And they have, at times, struggled to find that. They've struggled to find the formula that works for them and that we know works for them. The Magic found that again in the second quarter. They carried it forward into the third, and then at the end of the game, when the chips were down, they finished the job. This wasn't a perfect game. Orlando missed a ton of free throws. They missed a ton of opportunities. There were turnovers. There were still those missed threes, 6 for 25 from three. Just still not going to be good enough, and three-point shooting is going to be what it is. But Orlando looked like themselves again. It starts with their defense. Paolo and Franz did their thing, and Paolo was aggressive. He got to the line for 16 free throws. Orlando got 38 free throws as a team. They played like themselves. And if the Magic play like themselves, they may not win every game. They're probably not going to win every game. But if they play like themselves, if they play with that energy and intensity and effort, they can make up for a lot of shortcomings. They can make up for a lot of things that they don't do right. And there's plenty. That's a long list of things they don't do right. This is a big win. Again, you could kind of feel how big this win was. You could feel that we're post All-Star break now. Every game's going to matter. We're in the middle of a tight playoff race. Magic have put some distance between them and Atlanta, a game and a half. It's not a lot, but it's something. And if Orlando plays like this, if they play the way that they played in this game for most of the games on the rest of their schedule, they're going to win a lot of games. Again, Orlando with what? Let me just check here. 6 steals, 7 blocks. You get 13 stocks. You turn the ball over only 8 times, a lot of them coming in the first quarter. You control the pace of the game. You're able to get out and run, but slow it down when you want to. That's how this Magic team is going to win. They found their identity. They found their swagger. And look, I'm not big always into guys talking and jawing, and there's a lot of jawing and a lot of chatter in this game. But to see Paolo Banchero especially kind of talking and jawing, again, that look in his eye, like you could feel it. We were up in the section, up in the 121 section over here at State Farm Arena watching this, and you could just kind of feel that Paolo felt, I'm going to take over this game. I'm going to lead this team ahead. I'm going to lead this team to victory. He did it. And when he has that confidence, it radiates to everyone else. When the top 2 guys play with confidence and aggression, everyone else is going to follow. It's going to lift the whole boat. And look, Paolo has struggled since he came back. And this game was perhaps, honestly, yeah, I'll say it. This game was his best game since coming back. He looked refreshed. A lot of guys looked refreshed. We're going to talk about Wendell Carter here in a minute. But this felt like a Magic win. This felt like Magic basketball. And they needed it. They needed it. There's still a lot to clean up, a lot to improve. But the Orlando Magic look like they are back for tonight at least. So how did that happen? One of the big reasons, the Orlando Magic made a change to their starting lineup. What Wendell Carter brought to the starting lineup coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more points in a game during the 2024-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Here are a few ways you can take advantage of this deal with the game day feast after an epic 50-point performance. You can celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spot delivered straight to your door. If you're like me, getting ready to go back to the hotel, you can solve those late night cravings. Whether you're staying up watching highlights or just need a midnight snack, use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save when any player scores 50 more in a game. Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. So obviously, this Magic team is still figuring things out. They're still putting some of these pieces together, and this was a huge step in that direction. No denying it, no getting around it, no changing it. The Orlando Magic looked like themselves, and part of that was a surprise change to the lineup. We were shocked as everyone else when Jamal Mosley announced that Wendell Carter was going to return to the starting lineup for Goga Bitadze. It has been a rough year for Wendell Carter. This plain and simple been a rough year. He has struggled to find his footing. We've talked a lot about the ways in which he has struggled, the ways in which he has been unable to kind of give the lift the Magic needed to give him. And understandably, a lot of fans were confused by this move. If Wendell Carter isn't giving this team a huge offensive lift, if he isn't delivering the rebounding, the aggression, the physicality on the inside that the Magic need, that Goga Bitadze typically provides, then why did the Magic make this decision? Why did the Magic go in this direction? Well, who knows if this will work? Who knows if this is a long-term fix? Who knows if this is a long-term thing? But at the end of the day, this is the vision the Magic had. The Magic believed Wendell Carter was their starting center. Injuries have slowed him down. And I would say this, from the start of the game, Wendell Carter looked fresh. Like, he looked refreshed. He looked more energetic. He looked more physical. He looked more dominant in the post, and was a huge, huge factor in the Magic locking down the paint. Look, Atlanta still scored 56 points in the paint, so I'm not going to pretend that he was perfect or that the defense was perfect. Defense was very good throughout the night. But yeah, they made a lot of mistakes. They still kind of were late on some rotations. They were giving up some dribble drives. There's a lot of switching, so Carter was pulled away from the basket, but that's kind of what the Magic are going for. That's kind of what the Magic want. They want Carter. They want a center who can switch out on the perimeter, especially against Trae Young, where they were doing a lot of switching. They'll probably do a lot of switching on Ja Morant in Friday's game against the Memphis Grizzlies as well. And that is something that Wendell Carter is really good at. What Carter has struggled with this year, and where he has really had a hard time finding his fit, is that the jumper's not been there, and he has looked noticeably slow and kind of plodding, just unable to get lift. So to see Wendell Carter come back, just 9 points, nothing crazy, but 15 rebounds, 4 offensive rebounds, just really lock down that glass, to see him be that big of a factor and to grab some huge rebounds. Again, didn't have a block shot, had 1 block. Wasn't like a huge fact, it wasn't a huge box score factor. But he was grabbing every rebound in his area. He was really locking down that paint and challenging shots really well at the rim. I know he's not the shot blocker that everybody wants. I think he understands he's not the shot blocker that everybody wants. But the reason why the Magic trust him is because he is in the right spots. He rotates over. He holds his position. And yes, he can get out on the perimeter and guard a little bit. That's been part of what's been missing from the Magic this year. That's been part of what's been missing from him specifically, and why the Magic have often kind of struggled in that area. Wendell Carter looked like Wendell Carter. And again, the theme of today's episode is absolutely about how this team looked refreshed, how they came back from the break and looked like a team that, not the first quarter, obviously. First quarter, they got outscored 33-21. They were down 15 early in the quarter. It was just a disaster. But once they found their footing, once they found their defense, they looked like a refreshed team. They looked like themselves. And they know they're going to have to play a lot better. The Hawks made a ton of mistakes. We'll get into them when we get to the box score. But they had so many players look like themselves. Paolo Banchero looked like himself. 36 points going downhill, 11 for 25 shooting. So the shooting wasn't always there, but he had a string of shots in that second quarter, gave everybody confidence, gave everyone belief. And again, that's been my big thing. It's not necessarily about the shooting ability or anything else. It's about belief and confidence. To see Carter play this forcefully, again, didn't maybe show up in the stat sheet, but he played with force. When Carter plays with force like this, he is the Magic starting center. He is their best option at center. And he played like it tonight. He played like it against the Hawks. Now, he's going to have to do it again and again and again and again. But as Carter said, these are the most important 26 games of his career. He understands kind of what's at stake, not only for this team, but for himself. He understands what he has kind of left on the floor throughout the course of the season, what he has not been able to accomplish and what he has not been able to do. Now is his opportunity to kind of show himself. And the Magic put their trust and their faith in him. And look, he delivered. You know, say what you want to say about his season, say what you want to say about it. He delivered. It was a fantastic effort from Wendell Carter. The Magic do not win this game without Wendell Carter. And look, the Magic don't win this game without what Goga Bitadze gave them off the bench. He played really well in the first half, too. Goga finished with 6 points and 6 rebounds in 15 and a half minutes. Played really, really well, played with energy, played with pace, and that's what the Magic are looking for. Carter had that bounce. Like, he had some energy. He was getting some lift. He was leaping and jumping in ways that we haven't seen him do all year. So the time off clearly did some good for him. And if the Magic can get that version of Wendell Carter every night, scoring will come. It's, you know, offense is going to be what it's going to be with this team at this point. But if they can get this kind of energy from Wendell Carter throughout the course of the season, the Magic are going to be in a lot better shape. Again, we will see if Wendell stays in the starting lineup. He's got a big task on Friday with Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr. It's going to be a challenge for him once again, and we'll see if he's up to that challenge. We'll see if he's able to step up to the plate. But that is the big step that he took and how the Magic put themselves in a very, very good spot in this game, and were able to kind of finish this one off. Let's go through the final box where we'll talk about where the Magic saw areas that they needed to improve. We'll talk about everybody else coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I live in Florida. I'm currently in Georgia. We don't get FanDuel because government, I guess. But with their live betting feature, it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether you're backing your team or for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three like Cole Anthony did in this game. You never feel like you miss your chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Orlando Magic, again, defeat the Atlanta Hawks 114-108. A fantastic, as Coach Mosley said after the game, gutsy victory for this team. And they did a lot of things that were really, like, just so characteristic of this team when they were at their best. It was the steals. It was the defense. It was just the hounding of that team. You look at the stat sheet, and it almost doesn't make sense how the Magic won. It does a little bit in this game because the Magic made 48.2% of their shots. After that poor first quarter, they shot 8 for 25. 8 for 25? They didn't shoot very well in the first quarter. It was bad. They were down big. It was as bleak as this team has looked in a long time, especially in a big spot, especially coming out of the break. It felt like the Magic should be playing a lot better. But they came out of it. They came back, and they played fantastic the rest of the way. They made their shots. They were above 50% for most of the game. They cooled off in the fourth quarter. We can talk that just some really poor execution, kind of back into the hide and switch style that is really frustrating to watch. The Magic were really, really successful in this game because they were using Paolo Banchero as the roll man, letting him set screens, giving them the ball on the move, able to space the floor, give him the ball like at the free throw line where he had a little bit more space to operate, kind of pick where he wanted to go. He made quicker decisions. Again, just Paolo looked refreshed. And again, stat sheet says that 36 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. He is the third player in Magic history to have a 35-11-5 game, or 35-10-5 game, I think is what that tweet from Magic PR said. So, again, didn't shoot the ball efficiently. He kind of hunted for shots a little bit as the game went on, but he got it going. Look, the Magic don't win this game, don't come back in this game without his 18 points and the confidence it gave everyone else. Franz Wagner was just equally as good. 25 points, 9 for 18 shooting, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Had a little foul trouble, but he was excellent, found his spaces, really carried the team again through the third quarter. Paolo did his thing. Franz took the baton and really helped this team kind of stay in the lead, start building it out a little bit. Magic led by as much as 11 in this game. Again, it got tight. Hawks were able to tie it at 103-103. And that's where the Magic would say they left something on the table, that they could have done a little bit more. They could have played a little bit better. They're happy they won the game. Don't get it wrong. They made the plays. They made the shots. 3 big shots from Cole Anthony, a big 3 from Paolo Banchero to cap a 9-0 run, make it 112-103 with about a minute to go. Made the rest of the game just completely academic. Just a really, again, fantastic showing, fantastic finish from this team. But Orlando was not happy with the amount of free throws they missed. 26 for 38 from the foul line. That's 68.4%. You're getting to the foul line 38 times. The Magic were putting pressure on that Hawks defense. They were getting downhill. It was a really poorly officiated game. I'm not going to deny that part either. Just the refs were trying to let things go, and they let things go a little too much. And they tried to rein it back in, and everybody was frustrated with it. So, both teams have a lot to complain. But again, you play through it. Orlando just left points on the board. If you make 8 of those 12 free throws, this is not a close game. That left the door open. Atlanta was able to get some momentum heading into the end of the fourth quarter. Again, tied the game at 103 after they were down by 11. It really felt like Orlando was ready to pull away and finish this game with about 4.5 minutes left. Hawks came back, tied it up, forced Magic to make shots and execute. And look, the Magic did. We're not talking about a blown lead here. We're not talking about a loss. We're talking about a win at the end of the day. And, that's where Orlando still needs to improve. There's still that shakiness. I would say Orlando, for the most part, looked like themselves. They looked like that team that we believed in so much in December, but there are still these moments where they look shaky, where they just didn't quite have it, where they fell back into the traps that have plagued them throughout the season. Like, that's still a part of the story and part of what this team's going to have to overcome over the next 50 some odd days of the season. The Magic have to own that they're the team from December and aspire to be that team from December, but they also have to own that they're the team from January and February that has struggled so much, and they have to understand that we can still fall into these traps. For the most part in this game, the Magic did not fall into those traps. And again, it's just little contributions from everywhere. Cole Anthony at 17 points, 7 for 13 shooting. He gives them such a big spark offensively. He can attack downhill. 5 rebounds for him, really big rebounds too. His size is the biggest issue. He got caught on some matchups where he was just way too small. They didn't want him guarding Trae Young, obviously, so he's guarding Dyson Daniels, switching on to Zachary Risachet. They both took him to the post in the first half, but they didn't shoot the ball well. Zachary Risachet was 4 for 15. Dyson Daniels was 3 for 14, missed a lot of shots at the rim. So the Magic did get help to him after that poor first quarter. And they really struggled to find their stroke around the basket. Again, big part of this game, big part of why the Magic were able to win. Again, not a lot of scoring elsewhere. Wendell Carter, 9 points, 15 rebounds. Anthony Black had 10 points off the bench, 4 for 7 shooting, really got himself going in that second and third quarter to help the Magic get in the lead. Got a little chippy with Trae Young. I love the chippiness. Actually don't mind that. It shows personality. It shows that they're confident. It shows that they have some swagger. It shows that they're not going to back down. And, it's not, you can lose yourself a little bit. There were, 4 unsportsmanlike technical fouls, 3 of them on the Hawks. Cole Anthony picked up a technical foul as well for arguing with the officials. There was a lot of chippiness in this game. And, if this is our 7-8 play-in tournament game, it's possible. We can't rule that part out. If this is our 7-8 play-in tournament game, it is going to be spicy. That game is going to be spicy. These teams do not really like each other. But I love that the Magic didn't back down again. Paolo was talking. The FanDuel Sports Network broadcast caught Paolo talking trash to George Niang after Niang was upset about Paolo drawing a foul call with a shout. Paolo said, I'm busting you right now, just like I busted you in the playoffs last year, or something to that effect. To me, that shows confidence. And that's a confidence this Magic team hasn't had for 2 months. So to have that, to see that, I think is ultimately a good thing. Like I mentioned, Goga Batante had 6 points. Tristan Da Silva had 3 points, made a huge three at the end of the third quarter. That really gave the Magic some wings. Jonathan Isaac had 2 points off the foul line. It looks off the foul line. Just kind of big presence wasn't huge. And this is, you're getting 61 points from your two main stars. That's really what you want to see. Atlanta gets 38 from Trae Young. Orlando was not as good defending Trae Young in this game, but he still shot 13 for 28, 4 for 13 from 3, 8 for 10 from foul line. They let him get to the foul line a little bit too much, held him to 5 assists, forced 5 turnovers against him, so did some good things against Trae Young. There's a lot of good, a lot of bad with Trae Young. He was able to get himself going, but unlike the game last week, no one else got going. Zachary Risachet, like I mentioned, 11 points on 4 for 15 shooting. He did have 12 rebounds. Onyeka Okongwu had 11 points. Magic struggled a little bit on the offensive glass. Gave 15 offensive rebounds. A lot of that just because of switching, because of having to make some late rotations. So there's a lot to clean up on the offensive glass. Atlanta, though, only 20 second chance points off those 15 offensive rebounds. 8 for 16 on second chance opportunities. Orlando had 15, so they were able to match it, keep pace with them. And because the Magic shot better, they're able to kind of pull away. And it got to the foul line more. They're able to win the math problem, even though they get beat by 5 3-pointers, 11 3-pointers for Atlanta, but they shoot just 31.4% from 3. If the Magic are able to hold opponents to poor 3-point shooting like that, they're going to give themselves a real chance to win a lot of these games. And that's what they did in this game. They gave themselves that chance to win, and they took care of their business. The Orlando Magic defeat the Atlanta Hawks 114-108. The swagger is returned. We'll see if it returns at the Kia Center as the Orlando Magic start a big 7-game homestand against Memphis Grizzlies on Friday. I'll be back at the Kia Center somehow, some way for that game. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, search your tune in Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the listening podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. I'll have 3 takeaways from this game, probably up before tip-off. It will be up before tip-off on Friday. May not be up until I get home. Just got a long drive ahead of me heading back to Orlando. So I appreciate that and appreciate your support on the Patreon page. As if all that's not enough, you can check out the Locked On Magic daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic from State Farm Arena here in Atlanta. This has been Philip Rossman-Wright. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.